tere kõigile Sky.ee vaatajatele, minul on ülimalt suur au ja rõõm tervitada praegu Judas Priesti solisti Rob Halfordi meile intervjuule. Hi Rob, how are you and where are you?
Hello everybody, it's your metal guard. Hello Caddy. I'm in the UK and I'm ready to start packing my bags to get on the plane and come over to Europe and see all of our beautiful metal maniacs in Estonia again.
That's very good. How do you actually feel about the nickname Metal God? I see you introduced yourself as that.
It's beautiful. You know, many years ago, Judas Priest had a record called British Steel, and we had a very famous track on the British Steel album called Metal Gods. And then shortly after that, our fans would start referencing, hey, Rob, the Metal God from Judas Priest. And I guess it just kind of became a nickname, an AKA. And so I didn't think anything of it, you know, but then it just became a thing. It became a thing. And I love it. I treasure it. I love it so much because it came from our wonderful metal maniacs around the world. I love it so much that I've actually trademarked Metal God. You know, I trademarked it years ago. And my thing is now there was only one Elvis Presley and there's only one Metal God. So I have a lot of fun with it, but I cherish it because it comes from our fans.
Okay, that sounds very awesome. But I would like to jump with you back in time to 2015, which was the last time you visited Tallinn. Do you even remember anything from that time or visiting Tallinn?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I have a steel mind trap when it comes to places that we've been through to around the world, even though sometimes it's decades ago. But I remember the visit, and it was strong, it was powerful. It was just a wonderful experience to be with our metal maniacs from Tallinn and in some instances be there for the first time because just because of the way the world works, it took us a long, long time to come to your part of the world. So we had a lot of catching up to do and celebrating together. And that's exactly what we did then. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. But of course, we're in the 50 heavy years of Judas Priest. So this is going to be an extra special show when we come see you soon.
Yeah, definitely. And besides the fact that you make such awesome and actually world-changing music, you get to travel a bit around the world. Do you remember a place that you were maybe most surprised about the culture or which made the biggest impact on you? Which country would that be?
Well, I think there's many, you know, when you come to Estonia for the first time, I love visiting all of these different places. It's a blessing, you know. We're very grateful to have the opportunity to take our metal around the world like we have. I think probably one of the most first unique experiences, again, we go back quite a while, was when we went to Japan for the first time, because we knew a little bit about the Japanese culture, but to actually go there and to see the balance of their traditions and their culture that is still very strong and potent, but to have this acceptance of this kind of music in their country was just something very special and extraordinary. And Judas Priest is one of the very first metal bands to go to Japan. Very few of the bands had been there at that time. We opened the doors for metal in Japan. So that's probably one country. But, you know, when you get the chance to travel to these far-off places like Rio de Janeiro or Buenos Aires, you know, places that as a kid in your dreams you could only read about, you know, and so to actually go to these places, what it does, it makes you see how small the world is. It makes you see how small the world is. And it makes you see how we're all connected. We may not speak the same language, but all of us go through so many things in our lives that are similar. And that's what keeps us together as humanity, you know. We all have the ups and downs. We all have the laughter. We all have the tears. We all have the struggles, we all have the successes. Doesn't matter where you go in the world, and that's one of the great, beautiful blessings that I registered many years ago. Was it gave me a better understanding of life. It gave me a better understanding of people, how we're all the same. Doesn't matter what your religion is, what your sexual identity is, what your political beliefs are. Doesn't matter. We're all people. We all have the same kind of lives on this planet, the short time that we're here. And so we must do everything we can to try and get as much out of it. So there's a speech. I have a tendency to make speeches as I've got older.
I love speeches,
but I hope I'm able to express the answer to your question, that it's a joy to be able to travel and to see so many of our beautiful metal maniacs anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. But if we now go back to when you first started the band, it was 1969, if I remember correctly. But has anything changed in the reasons why you do music now compared to when you first started?
It's exactly the same. It hasn't changed one bit. And what I mean by that is when you're in a creative world like music, the first thing that has to be solid, the first thing that has to be permanent is your passion for the music that you love and the music that you make. If that starts to fade, or if that starts to go into a different direction, if you choose to walk away from music or whatever, I think that's when you say thank you and you move on with whatever else you might be drawn towards. But for me, when you ask me that question, I can go all the way back to the very first rehearsal day that Judas Priest had. I can remember it like yesterday. And I just remember the feeling, the energy and the excitement and the power of this music that we were making. And I still feel that now, when I'm on stage anywhere in the world with this band, those feelings, those incredible parts that make it real and honest and genuine for what we do are still as strong as it ever was. And I think our fans know that. Our fans are able to see us, and they watch us working on stage, and they go, look at those guys, they're just pouring on the metal 100%, and they love what they do. And that's the greatest exchange I think you can make with your fans, is to have this commitment, this honest commitment to dedicating yourself to each other. It's a perfect balance, we give each other so much.
Yeah, that sounds really, really awesome. But do you think that your passion is the reason why you became so successful? Because there are a lot of very passionate musicians who won't achieve such great heights as you did. But
exactly,
what was the main key to your success?
Yeah, well, we talk about destiny a lot in Judas Priest songs. We talk about fate a lot in Judas Priest songs. There are so many bands, so many incredibly talented bands that only get so far in their journey. And that's just the way life works. There are so many incredibly talented people in the creative world that just because of the way the world works and the breaks and the good luck and the timing and all of these things play a role in you being able to move forward. One of the great benefits of today's world is this that we're doing now. You have these opportunities like with Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Telegram and all these other social platforms where you can put out your creativity. So that's something we didn't have when we began. So we're always urging new metal bands, new metal artists to utilize what can be provided through the World Wide Web. Having said that, it's so tough, it's so tough. Your heart cries for people that are, for bands, for individuals that are really, really talented, and they're, for whatever reason, they can't get to that next place. But here's the thing, when you have the passion, regardless of the circumstances, you never give up. You never quit. That's the simplest thing in the world, to say, that's it, it's finished, it's done. And then you wake up the next day and whatever you had is gone. It's lost, you know? So how do you determine success? Is success selling 1 million records? I don't think it is. Is success playing to 70,000 people at Wacken in Germany? I don't think it is. You know, success to me is like 2 or 3 people showing up to a show. That to me is a success. That to me is your connectivity. That to me is your passion being shared and exchanged with another person. So I've never been a person or a musician rather, to equate success with numbers, with figures, with percentages. I've never felt that that's part of who we are and what we try and be and do. So all I can say is, a bit like Glenn, no surrender, never give up, never give in. Keep your passion burning, you know, keep your passion alive, because you never know from one moment to the next when an email might arrive or a text might arrive. Hey, we want you to play a so-and-so show, you know, or we found this great guitar player that might be good for your band, you know. Or the world is evolving constantly, 24/7. So great things can happen even when you're struggling. It's so important that you never give up.
Yes, I totally agree with you. But although you never, as you said, like aimed to be successful in a sense, you still have become that successful that you have actually changed how the music history and metal music in general actually is today. You have inspired people who are musicians. You have been inspired listeners. You are even the reason why metal scene is wearing more leather and studs nowadays. But what do you think is the biggest impact that you made in history, or what do you perceive was the change you have made in this world?
Well, I think again, just because of where we were in our life, and just because of where music was changing, you know, music was changing in the late 60s. It was getting more louder. It was getting more expressive. You know, certain bands laid the groundwork for heavy metal to grow from. And I think the fact that we were there at the beginning and we created something that was new and fresh and that hadn't been heard before, I think that was part of the challenge for us as a band. We have this music that, you know, nobody's really heard of, and so how do we take that out? You know, where do we go with it? And so we used to do those early tours of playing every conceivable venue you could play. Sometimes there'd be 2 people in the audience, but that's enough, you know. So that's where we look at. I mean, we're referenced a lot now as being the band that started the heavy metal scene. Some people might argue and say it was this band or that band. But from our point of view, we were there from the very beginning. The roots, the early power of metal came from Priest. So we embrace that. We cherish it. We're very fond to have that type of memory. It's important to us. When we take our shows out around the world, we know about that. We think about that. We know there's a certain responsibility that you have when you are successful in this definition of success. There are expectations built in to you as a band. So you have to make sure that you meet those expectations every time you go out on stage.
Okay, but let's say there's this weird parallel world where this is possible, that you could actually now today start a band which is like Judas Priest. Would it be as successful as the real Judas Priest is today?
No, it wouldn't. There's no way it would. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's just simply, first of all, it's the name. The embodiment of Judas Priest is as you see it now. And it's just like this big giant piece of metal that's immovable. It's this solid mass of metal in the world that if you try to reinvent that, you know, I think you can try and do that, Take for example, Judas Priest and tribute bands. There are an amazing amount of incredibly talented tribute bands of Judas Priest, and that's an honor. I love it. I love it when a band emulates what we do, and so I think that's just another example of another expression of passion. But no. I tried to go that way a little bit with some of my solo projects, with the Halford Band, for example. And the Halford Band ended up being, 50% of the Halford material and 50% of Judas Priest material, because the music becomes bigger than yourself. The music, the band, the name becomes bigger than you. So it's impossible for one person to push it out, to take it out in a different dimension, to believe that you're gonna reach the same heights of what this band Judas Priest has gotten to. That's just the fact. You look through the history of metal, and so many people, especially singers, LSD, lead singer's disease, we go off with, I'm going to make this band and that band, and you do okay. You play the clubs, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're searching for the same level that your band has given you, like Judas Priest has given me, you can't get there. It's impossible. It's impossible. If that's what you believe by the definition you're going to achieve, you're not going to. That's just a fact of life. That's just the way the world works. At the same time, who am I? That's just an opinion. That's just an opinion. I'm just trying to make sense. I'm just trying to make sense of the reality of your question. And I've seen it happen time and time again. Whether it's Mick Jagger or Rob Halford. We want the Stones. We want Judas Priest,
Yeah, I could chat with you for an entire day, that's for sure. But unfortunately, our time is limited. But now for a few seconds, you have the whole Estonia who is waiting for the concert listening to you. What would you like to say to your fans who are planning to come to your concert?
Well, firstly, thank you so much for your love and support for Judas Priest. The great thing about being in a band is that we're with you all the time, because our music is in your car or in your iPhone or in your bedroom, in the kitchen. We're with you all the time musically. We know that because I'm like that with bands that I love. I'm listening to them and the band is somewhere else in the world. So there's a connection all the time. So I would like all of our fans to know that we're with you 24/7 in that respect, and that the ultimate experience is being with each other, because that's when it becomes real. That's the defining reason of why you're in a band and what you're trying to do in a band only becomes real when you're with each other at a show. So everybody, come and see us. It's going to be an amazing night full of metal memories. We're going to have metal memories together, and we're going to make metal history together when Priest bring their 50 years of heavy metal to Tallinn, Estonia.
Yes, thank you so much. And I will see you on the 5th of July in Saku Suurhall in Tallinn. Thank you so much for your time, Rob. I hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. All right. Be safe. See you soon.